Mr. President, thank you very much. Your journey in Palau is really, really inspiring. We'll continue into tourism. Tourism today, as we were saying, is no longer only about movement, actually. It is about meaning. The place we remember most are not just the one we visited, but the ones we felt through art, through culture, through meals as well, and gastronomy. That's how we tell the story nowadays about tourism. This session explores when tourism meets creativity, how art, food, cultural ecosystem shape destinations that are imagined, tasted, and remembered long after the trip is over. I have three voices who live at this intersection. I want to introduce Mr. Arthur de Villepin, co-founder and chairman de Villepin, who works with cities and institutions to build creative ecosystem for destination. Mrs. Sara Shakeel, artist, whose work reshapes how we imagine places, from diamond places to glittering cityscape, and Chef Somer Sivrioğlu.
That's right.
Excellent chef and TV judge on MasterChef Türkiye, and the Efendy group, who carries memory, migration, and culture on a plate. Let's move fast because it's a very, very short session. Arthur, I will start with you. From your perspective, working with destination and cultural institution, how can cities and tourism ecosystem move beyond hosting art and actively enabling creativity and cultural production?
Yeah, I think this is key. Let me take this opportunity first to congratulate the authorities for this wonderful event and conference. I think they did a fantastic job, and I'm very humbled to be among you today, sharing ideas, and very inspired of the different discussions and talks that I heard all over today. To answer your question, I do believe the key is what you said, is cultural production. Most people focus on tourism and they want to be attractive. The key is somehow is not about making sure that you can be attractive because you create nice events. Is making sure that you can produce art and culture that eventually can be exported and create outpost and attractivity afterwards. If we take the example, and I think this is the great one, of New York in the 50s, it is a city that basically in 30 years, between 1930 to 1960, became the dominant culture from Europe that was dominating for centuries. Yeah. The way they did that is, first, they attracted talents, and thanks to the Second World War for them, they actually, which was of course very unfortunate, but a lot of European talents and a lot of European artists came to New York. The confrontation of new generation and old generation of artists in New York and cultural talents in New York that then were confronted to the best people in the planet at the time, the Picasso, the Mark Stans, the Mata, that came to New York, really created and fostered eventually empowerment to the cultural scene in New York. And over the 50s, 60s, you had a cultural production that was pushed thanks to an ecosystem led mainly by the state, so very much pushed by the state, that created a cultural production.
And I think it's still on. In New York, at least.
Well, I think it's still very much dominant, but that dominance is now put it in question.
Okay. We'll go back to that, because I wonder which cities are taking that flame from New York. Sara, travel plays a central role in your work, almost as creative engine rather than a backdrop. How do the places you move through actively shape your imagination? What does travel unlock creatively that a studio never could?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me. I think I can speak through a personal experience. I'm originally from Pakistan, but I live in London, and I travel the world. My followers are from all over the world. So I think for me, traveling and movement is not about going from one country to another. It's about moving into feelings, into their culture, into their history, and kind of understanding all of that, absorbing it. I think artists are like sponges. They absorb everything and anything and create, at least I try to create it by giving it glitter and crystals and kind of amplifying that. I think for an artist, a studio is meaning more control, but when you're moving is when you surrender. And I think when you surrender is where wonder lives. For me, that is what I do.
You surrender to what?
I surrender to people around me.
Wow.
I absorb as much as I can, their culture, their stories, their silence. And I think that what really fuels me as an artist. And I think my heart belongs to almost every part of the world.
That is an amazing point of view, honestly, and perspective on art, especially with travel and tourism. Chef Somer, you built your culinary identity between Turkey and Australia, carrying memory, migration, culture on a plate. How does food become a form of storytelling that allows a destination to be felt, not just visited?
Thank you. It's great to be here. As you said, I was born in Turkey. I moved to Australia when I was 25. And 8 years ago, I got invited back to Turkey to host MasterChef Türkiye. So all my restaurants are in Australia, and food is the best tool an immigrant can have. We first start to speak through food before we speak the language. We get used to the culture that we are in. We start inviting our neighbors into our homes and share our culture through food. So food is very important. I think it's the most important part of immigration. Anyone, and I can say all three of us here are immigrants somehow, living in different places, and it always takes us back to our familiar place, it's our anchor where we take it. So the way that I see my food is, and I cook Turkish food in Australia, in a country that is most far away from Turkey, without making any changes. Yeah. I'm quite lucky because Australia is such an open country, a bit like UAE and a bit like Dubai, that is very open to different experiences. So they don't want to localize your cuisine, they want you to express yourselves, and they give you those opportunities. As an immigrant, we all think about fitting in first. The first reaction we have as an immigrant is to fit into the culture. So only once we are in a culture, we found our voice, then we start to speak our voice. Yeah. We start to speak our culture. So I'm quite lucky and blessed that I started my business in Australia. Now we have 4 restaurants there. Yeah. And it is a staple restaurant, kind like Turkish food in Australia. Is probably one of the most developed Turkish cuisines out of Turkey, because thanks to our team.
We'll go back to that because I want to see how this take the tourism globally through cuisine. But first, I want to ask you, Arthur, when art becomes part of how destination is perceived globally, what is the real culture and economic impact on local communities? How can creativity and creative tourism avoid becoming superficial branding?
Yeah, I think that's a big risk, and that's so interesting because I think we have 2 wonderful here examples. Yeah. These are creators, these are artists, right? Whether it's a chef or whether it's really an artist in the making with the different artworks that Sara creates. They didn't did it from their birthplace. They actually both, one went to Australia in Sydney, the other one went to London. Well, and the key is not about where you're coming from, is where do you think as a producer, as a creator, where do you think you can become?
You're right.
And if they were thinking, for example, they could become here in Dubai, so they could create in Dubai, then the pattern would be a Dubai artist. And then you could have a Dubai artist that then would be able to export themselves, creating a new restaurant in New York, a new restaurant in Turkey, and so on. And you would have a Dubai brand living outside the world. I think one very good example is to say France is not famous because it's just in people's mind a great place. It's famous because every time you go to a French restaurant or you drink French wine, you're thinking or imagining France before going to it. And that's why you're attracted by it. True. So the key is to create cultural embassies elsewhere for the people to want to come to a destination.
Through art, through culture.
Through art and culture, and for production of
course,
amazing artists. Like,
dishes also. The amazing
Yes.
artist,
Yeah.
Sara. Your Emirates Diamond plane became, of course, a global visual moment, reaching far beyond traditional art space. What did that project teach you about how mobility, national identity, and visual storytelling can turn an art into a cultural ambassador? The way he was saying now, you did exactly that.
So, I mean, there's a story behind it,
Yeah.
and I'll make it fast for you. I was born and raised in Pakistan. I actually, just to give you a little, I started my career as an artist while I was in Pakistan. So all of my projects, they used to call me, they were like, which area code are we calling? And I'm like, you're calling in Pakistan. So for me, I was nominated by Glamour Italia in Milan, and they wanted to fly me. I looked at my plane, the Emirates plane. I took a picture of it and I said, this is how my plane looks like, which is a crystal diamond plane. I went in, and in the middle of the flight, I opened my phone, and the phone was going crazy because everyone thought that Emirates actually made a diamond plane. And Emirates also collaborated with me. Emirates was full in. They were like, let's do this, Sara. Let's make everyone believe that it's a crystal plane. And I loved the vision they had. They were very, I loved the daring approach they had to this. And it went viral. I won the award as well as the best visual artist. So here it is.
And this is how you went globally.
Everyone loved, there were many who did not know about Emirates Airlines. So they were like, Sara, I think we need to fly Emirates. I'm like, there you go.
Yes, I would love to fly in that.
Let's hope for it. Let's manifest it.
Literally in diamonds, isn't it?
Chef Sommer, you said it already because you took your culture there in Australia. But the question, I think there's a fine line between celebrating your cuisine and dilution of that cuisine. From your experience, how can we preserve that culture and not adapt to the other cuisine? Dilution or keep it authentic?
It's difficult.
When it goes globally, it is.
Yeah, it is difficult because your first reaction, as I said, as an immigrant, is to fit in. The best example, especially now we are in Dubai, will be Nusret. Nusret, you probably all know Nusret. Yes. It's a very famous steakhouse. If you don't know the guy, you know the move. He started in Turkey. And what he did was so right. He had amazing butchery skills. He had incredible craft. He really knew the culture, and there was a big demand for it. So he did it so right. But then authenticity gets lost for the sake of quick rewards. You know, just moving too quickly. Replication takes over the authentication, and it just gets diluted. You know, so he becomes famous for his memes more than the food itself, than the steak itself. So it's very important when you grow, you grow under the cultural guardianship with your brand. As I said before, that is our anchor. So what I try to do is I always try to, to move not with the anchor, because you sometimes have to lift the anchor to move as well. But it is very important to go back to the culture and to find out the authenticity of it, because we are cultural representatives of that, of the country that we come in. So I try to, and when you are authentic and when you have it's all about story and history. Yeah. Once you tell your story and say, this is my way of doing it, people believe in it as long as it's sincere. And so it needs to be, you need to play the game long, not a short game.
Arthur, as AI and digital tools reshape creative industry, what responsibility do cultural institutions, tourism leaders have in shaping ethical, inclusive, and meaningful creative ecosystem?
I think the key is we should focus on school, on education.
That's
the key for culture is really being able to create the school that would create movements. If you think about modern Germany, you think about Bauhaus.
Yeah.
You think about France, it's academies, so on and so forth. School and the long-term thinking, 5 years, 10 years, will create the new generation of artists that will work with AI, because AI is the canvas, it's not the artist. And eventually will then be able to export a whole new trend and culture.
Education. How about you, Sara? Looking ahead, how do you personally envision the future of AI in art?
I think every technology, when it is introduced, everyone is scared at first. But I think we should have a positive mindset. I personally work with AI as a tool, as a collaborator, because it enhances my work. The crystal diamond plane that I made back in 2019 was a collage work. Then I trained AI to create a diamond plane in reality, and it made a crystal diamond plane with AI. So I think it's your intentions, your consciousness. If you're working towards the for a good cause, then I think it's a great tool.
True. Somer, I know there are AI kitchen, but do you say, thank God, we still need human to cook for us, and we need Chef Somer?
Look, I think I'm in one of the safest seats in here in terms of threats from AI, I hope. But food is about emotion. Food is about connectivity. There was a recent study in Australia about why people eat. And it wasn't about why do you go to fancy restaurants. Yeah. It's why do you eat out. And the number one response was to be acknowledged. It wasn't because of hunger. It wasn't because it was easy, so you don't have to wash dishes. It was about being acknowledged by someone, being served by someone, having that emotional connection, having a simple form of travel to a different culture. So I think we are one of the safer industries. I'm an optimist, but yeah, it's just like
for now, still.
Yeah, for now. But also, I embrace the culture and I use the AI as well to my benefit, especially living in two very different cultures and running restaurants both in Istanbul and in Sydney. I use AI to my advantage.
I want to end with something. If we talk about Dubai, and very, very quickly, Dubai is a brand. Dubai is a touristic city and also incubating a lot of cultural hub as well. What makes it different? Start with you, Arthur.
I think it's values. We will always come back to values. Dubai has its strengths: movement, speed, adaptation. It's international. Here you can be whoever you want. There is no look at difference as a threat or something of fear. That's a fantastic opportunity in this world. I mean, most of the places look at the tensions, the conflicts. Here you feel safe. You know you're on the new world. It's a fantastic place to grow. I think it has its strengths, its values. We should really embrace it and thank the authorities of Dubai of creating such a place in such a difficult world.
So, yeah. Sara?
I mean, as a Muslim artist, I'm very proud of my brothers to really show the world what we are, how embracing we are to different cultures, to different religions, to people from all parts of the world, living together, thriving together, let it be from any part of the world, which makes me really proud to see as a Muslim artist.
Yes, we all are proud. Chef Somer.
I definitely second that as a Muslim chef living in Australia. But Dubai is very interesting for me because it represents both of the cultures that I love. Turkey, who has a very dominant, I'll talk about the food part obviously, Turkey that has a very dominant, strong culinary inheritance because it's where the agriculture was born originally. And it's a very dominant culture that is very protective of its own cuisine, and no other cuisine can integrate into the culture. Yes. Then I moved to Australia that has no dominant food food culture, but it really embraces the immigrant food culture. So any immigrant food operator flourishes in there if they do it right. Dubai is so unique, you know, not geographically, but also philosophically in between those two countries. Because how Dubai started as the best of the world, bringing out the best operators all around the world, but now you're looking at it. I've been walking, and I advise all of you to go and eat the food as well. Most of them are coming from Emirati chefs. 10 years ago, that was unheard of. There were no Emirati chefs. They didn't want to they didn't want to represent that culture. Now they are understanding it, so that movement is coming. Today, I just had great salad from a woman cooperative that were raising their own vegetables in Dubai, in the area. So it is finally combining, and Orfali Brothers. For me, that is the best restaurant in Dubai. And, you know, it's just representing that culture. So for me, Dubai is all about that, just embracing all other cultures, but also being very proud of their own.
And this is how tourism meets creativity. Thank you so much. Arthur, Sara, Chef Somer, thank you for your presence. Thank you so much.